Hi, David Odell here with Odell Complete Concrete. This is my first day on the job site other than when I came here to do the estimate. What it is the abandoned swimming pool. We're in Needles, California, and the coping was left on the pool, as you can see here, and it was backfilled with dirt. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill it in with concrete. The homeowner is going to make a basketball court out of it, is the idea. So typically when you do a backfill on a pool, what you would do is remove the coping. You would knock that bond beam, the edge of the pool, down about a foot or two. You would cut a hole in the bottom, a 3-foot hole in the bottom of the deep end. Also a couple of holes, smaller holes in the shallow end, down to dirt. Then you would backfill, and that would allow drainage. But I assume they didn't do it here. And I don't think it's really necessary because we're in Needles, California, approximately 4 inches of rain a year, very dry. So I don't think water or groundwater is going to be an issue lifting the pool out of the ground or water standing in this pool ever. Plus, we are going to cap it with concrete as well. So they're never going to see water in this pool ever again. But I sure like to because it's hot out here, about 110, 115 degrees right now. So the plan is we take the coping off, which is about 2 inches. Then there's some mortar that's adhering it to the bond beam. So we're going to chip off the mortar, and that'll give us about 3 inches from the bond beam to the top of the existing pool deck. And that'll be my thickness of the concrete over that bond beam. So right here, I just kind of showed Eric how to jackhammer this. I don't think he's ever ran a jackhammer, but he caught on really quickly. It's not rocket science or anything like that. It's just really hard physical labor. So it's just a matter of, what I like to do is work with gravity, and I like the machine to be using its own weight pushing down rather than having to push on the machine laterally. So that's what I noticed he was doing, kind of pushing it horizontally, which is very difficult. It's like doing curls all day long. So I just got him to stand it up straight, the tool, and take smaller chunks. Seems like you're not going to get done as quickly when you're taking smaller bites, but it does work out in the long run, especially. Now my plan is to put glue the day of the pour. I'm going to put glue over that bond beam and then glue down my slab on that edge, because I don't want my slab to come up, but I don't want to dowel into it either. So I'm going to go with the old glue system and wire mesh. This dirt in the swimming pool itself, I knew was compacted when I looked at this, even though they didn't mechanically compact it when they installed it. And then the reason I knew that is because at the deep end of the pool, the way the dirt was settling, it was much lower at the deep end than the shallow end. So that's where it compacted more just over time, over the 15 or 20 years that this dirt has been in there. So I knew it was compacted well. So I wasn't concerned about the concrete caving in other words, over time, because it's already been sitting here a while. Like here's the deep end over here to the left. You can see it's about 4 inches below top of bond beam. That's how much the dirt has settled since it was initially filled. Now at the shallow end, it stayed pretty flush. So that means it did settle since it was filled. That's where the diving board would have been. I found the old diving board mount in the concrete over here at this end. So what I did, I only had to remove about a yard of dirt out of this pool. Once I took some dirt from the shallow end of this pool, which is to the right, I pushed that down to the deep end where it had settled. Now I'm just kind of wheel rolling it, or track rolling it, I should say. And usually when I do this, I keep a full scoop in the bucket to give it a little more weight, so it'll compact even better. Plenty of water, and then I back blade it with dirt in the bucket a lot of times just to really press it down. Also, I will hit this with a plate compactor as well. Right here, I'm just running a string line across just to make sure we've got enough depth. I'm shooting for 4 inches thickness. Another plan that I have, I know that swimming pools are put in level. Common knowledge will tell you this water seeks its own level. So I'm assuming the pool deck is level around the perimeter, but I do want drainage still. So my idea is that I'll just crown the center a little bit and that way it'll run both directions. So I don't really need a full 4 inches when I pull a straight line across. 3.5 would be sufficient, and then I'll just jack the middle up a 1/2 inch, 3/4, and then that'll do the trick. Also, I'm going to be using a brand new tool that I haven't used yet on this particular job site, and it's the Milwaukee battery operated screed. I've got a 12-footer. I was real pleased with its performance. I'm going to show that on the pour throughout this job. Here's your plate compactor going on. It's a little wet to compact, but at least it wasn't sticking to the compactor. This is pour day. Now we're going to install the wire on pour day. I never like to install wire, and let it sit there for a few days because it's a real big trip hazard. So you get kids out there and you got wire in there, or anybody walking around, they're going to probably get caught up on it and fall over. So I like to put that in the very day of the pour. Now, if I had to use rebar, I wouldn't have been concerned about tripping. I could have left that in overnight. Here's the glue. So I've mixed a little water with this because it was just too thick. Mixed it up with some water, and then I'm going to just brush it around on here. And this is all of the day of the pour. There's that Milwaukee battery-powered power screed right there. We have Joseph as our driver on this job site out of S&S. This is, I believe they batched this one out of the Mohave Valley plant. They got the Bullhead plant, and then they got the Mohave Valley. So Mohave Valley is pretty close to Needles, so that's where this load came out. Nice fresh load. I think we did 8 yards here. We got a front discharge rig. Lucky we had Joseph on this truck because getting in between that house and fence, not hitting anything was a real work of art. When I'm using the big rock like I am today here, typically you'll see me use a lot of pea gravel and pumps, line pumps, but here we're tailgating, so I'm going big rock. And the nice thing about big rock is that it's much easier to screed and push around with your come along. It kind of stays where you put it versus pea gravel. So that's why we have a come along out on this one. Here's that vibratory screed. And you really need, when you're using one of these, what you need is a guy on a come along that's really good with it and can get it really close, because you don't want to pull a lot of mud, but at the same time you don't want to leave a lot of holes. So it took us a little bit to get the hang of using this thing, and I'm the guy using it right here. And you can see how it's laying it down. It's vibrating, it's knocking those rocks down, it's bringing up some cream. So when I go to bowl float this, I don't have to, a lot of times if you're just screeding it off with a 2x4 aluminum screed by hand, you're going to have to tamp it, or you're going to have to spray water on there to bowl float. But in this case, the way this thing's working, the vibration of it is bringing up enough juice that we can just push the bowl float over it without water or tamp. We're getting a nice finish. And there's a little hole fill in right here. Maybe the screed sunk a little bit when I was coming back, possibly. But what I was thinking about this screed, that's a big hollow 12-foot long screed on the end of that Milwaukee. And it's, because it is hollow, I'm thinking, hey, why don't I fill that thing with helium, and prevent it from trying to settle down when I stop moving it, and make it lighter and easier to work. So I was wondering if that would actually work. So if anybody knows anything about helium and filling up that screed and what they think, if that would help lighten the load here, or if it's pointless. I'm thinking it dissipates, of course, the helium, but can I refill it, on the job site? Can I put like a little fitting on there, a valve where I can just easily attach helium to it when needed? Something to think about. So now I've got the Milwaukee power tray, I've got the Milwaukee cutoff saw, got the Milwaukee screed, I've got some nice tools here. They all use the same battery, so 3 batteries will run these tools pretty much all day long if I'm just using one at a time. Here's Doug on the walking edge, or he's just going around it. We've got Luis hand floating, getting it nice and flush. Now here's your funny float going on. It's basically a hand float with a pole connected to it. That's what makes it funny. Here's your joint layout. We're going to do one lengthwise and two cross. So we're going to have about 8-foot sections here. There's your dry line snap where that joint's going to be cut. I'm using a 3-foot 2-inch cutter. The longer it is, the straighter it's going to be. So a lot of times you could probably get away without even using a string line. If you were to break out like a 6-foot long cutter, you could just eyeball it. And here's 3-foot. I've got the 3-footer because it worked for 3-foot sidewalks really nicely, and 4-foot, and up. But if you have a 6-footer only, you're not going to get it in a 3-foot walk. So multi-purpose is my thinking on everything. Now we're following up on those straight cuts with just a 3/4 deep, 1/2-inch radius walking joiner. Also, I have the in the background you see the 3-foot Milwaukee power trowel, battery powered. I bring that to every job just in case I need it. So it was a little difficult joining from this side or in this direction because we have the garage on one side within 3 feet, and then we have 6-foot fence behind me, 3 feet away. So we had to just kind of extend it out there, add poles on the way out. And inevitably, what we're going to have to do is get out there on knee boards with the straight edge and hand tool it. But it's nice if you can run it a couple times, with poles. That way you're not out there multiple sessions on boards. You just try to get out there and it's a little tighter, as long as you can keep this thing fairly straight before it gets too hard. So after the walking joiner, you want to do is get rid of your joiner lines quick as possible, because a lot of times you could, that walking joiner will sink in a little bit. So you want to smooth it back out, flatten it back out, and then you'll end up having to run that walking joiner again. But there's a certain point where it stops making any lines as it gets harder. Here's the funny trowel now. We're at the funny trowel stage. And that's just a hand trowel with a pole on it, or a mini Fresno. Now we've got a nice area out here for a good basketball court. There's Big Blue. The nice thing about Big Blue getting on it is that it's heavy, it's wide, so you're flattening it out. This concrete's 1 inch minus on the rock, and it's a 3,000 psi. So now it's slider time. So we'll get out there with this 12-foot straight edge, come down these lines, make them nice and straight. Me and Luis are out in the middle, and Doug's on the edge. Eric's doing cleanup. There's that Milwaukee battery-powered power trowel. And like I said before, it's better to have and not need than need and not have. So I never used it on this particular site. But one battery would have done the trick with the screed and the power trowel on a job this size, one battery. Well, there's Doug in the background brooming it out. And what he's doing is he's dipping his broom. When you see him go off screen, he's just dipping that broom in water and then getting it back out there. Here's what I'm going to be using to put my concrete curing compound on. Concrete curing compound, it's important out here because it's hot, it's dry, and you need to use everything you can, every tool in your toolbox, to make sure that it cures out properly. If it doesn't, it's going to crack up on you. So we're going to put curing compound on it. Also, I instructed the owner to wet this thing down about every hour for about 3 days. While the sun's up on it, about every hour for 3 days, and that'll probably get you by that shrinkage crack point. Also, fiber mesh is important in this in these conditions. It really helps on the shrinkage cracks. Wire's great too, but in a combination with fiber and wire, shrinkage cracks, they don't really happen if you have that combo in there. This broom is 100% nylon, and it's your medium texture. The green is medium, white is soft, black is coarse. So if you're doing an apron approach, you probably want your black broom bristles, because that's more coarse. All right, we just wrapped up this job for Darlene. Are you happy with the end product?
Yes, I'm very happy with it.
All right.
Very nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
thank you. Here it is. Concrete curing compound going on by Luis. Eric's wrapping up the cameras. And Doug is making everybody happy.
Yeah, Doug is being Doug.
Yeah.
Nothing else than what you expect.
All right, well, that about wraps this one up. Thanks for watching, and make sure you like, share, subscribe. Have a good day. Bye.